Welcome, Boilermaker families, to another virtual parent and family event hosted by Parent and Family Connections. My name is Jen Wetley, and I have the honor of serving as the Associate Director for Parent and Family Connections. And I will also be your host for today's event. Our event today will be focused on the additional resources available throughout campus related to the holistic well-being of Purdue students. We've reached that midpoint of the semester, and it's important time for students to be thinking about their well-being and how they will prioritize their well-being as we approach finals and the end of the semester. This virtual event will highlight the STEPS to LEAPS pillars of well-being, networks, and grit. More information about STEPS to LEAPS can be found by visiting the STEPS to LEAPS website, which is purdue.edu/steps to LEAPS, or you can scan the QR code shown here on your screen. Today, we will be hearing from staff from the areas of Counseling and Psychological Services, otherwise known as CAPS, and Recreation and Wellness. While you will hear from both of these areas representatives individually, all resources will work together in tandem, as noted in the STEPS to LEAPS as noted in the Student Wellbeing Part 1 from last semester, when we think about supporting students and their student well-being. First, I'd like to welcome Crystal to talk about counseling and psychological services.
Hi. Hello, Boiler family. Thank you for having me. As a Purdue alum, I'm really excited to be here today. I am the outreach director over at CAPS, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the services that we are offering this semester. All right. So one of the big things I want to highlight is that we are working really hard to make sure that our services continue to be as accessible as possible for students. We want to make it easy for students to come in and see us. We want to make it accessible as quickly as possible as well for students to come in and see us. So one of the big things that we highlight is that we do same day, next day appointments. So what that looks like is we want it to be that students can give us a call if they're interested in services, and we will schedule them for a brief 30-minute phone appointment so they can let us know what's going on, if they need an urgent appointment, if they have a crisis appointment. If they do have a crisis appointment, we will let students come in and speak with a CAPS professional that day. We have people on call all the time that we are open to talk about any urgent concerns that students may be having. And then we also use those brief screens as an opportunity to figure out what students' needs are and make a clinical recommendation about what steps or what next steps would be most appropriate for that student. And we try to make that as collaborative as possible. So for some students, that might look like a self-help program through WellTrack, which we'll talk a little bit more about. That might look like face-to-face brief therapy, which we have several clinicians on staff who do our brief therapy program. We have group services, we do brief individual therapy, and then we also have specialties that we offer to students, but we try and guide them through that process from that very first phone call to make sure that they know what those next steps are, when they'll be seeing a clinician, if they'll be seeing a clinician that day, and we want to make that as easy as possible for students. Once they are within our services, the evaluation of their needs are ongoing. So we're always assessing to make sure students are doing okay, because wanting to keep our students physically and mentally safe is at the forefront of our priorities. So if there's something that comes up with treatment, we can be aware of that quickly and make those adjustments as needed to support student success here at Purdue. So that is, at the forefront of our minds always, and we try to do that within our brief treatment model, so that we can try and get students what they need from us, so that they can go back and focus on their academics and do whatever it is that they need to do. Next slide. So one of the things that we offer, because we want to make sure that we don't have a one size fits all for students who are interested in our mental health services, is we have our Let's Talk program, which is a program that offers students the opportunity to do drop-ins with a mental health professional from CAPS at different locations on campus. So right now we have 3 different locations on campus, primarily focused on places that we know that students frequent, hang out, do homework, things of that nature, so that students can come in without having to schedule an appointment, without having to come into CAPS physical building and talk to a clinician for a brief one-on-one conversation. This isn't meant to be a substitute for therapy, but for students who are just looking to problem solve, they're looking for support, or maybe want to address a specific concern, we have created a confidential space for those students to come in and speak to somebody in a less structured environment. So we have one of those drop-ins available at the Graduate Student Center. We have another one available in Kroc, and then we have another one available in Walk. And those run every week that school is in session during the academic year. We're really excited about that program because it really has created another opportunity for students to access clinicians on their terms without having to come in and sign up to see a clinician one-on-one. And we're really excited to keep thinking of different ways to do that, to make our services as accessible as possible and meet students where they are in their own mental health journeys. And then another continuation of that, of trying to figure out ways to not have students have to wait for services, or not have students be locked into a traditional structure for therapy if that's not something that they're interested in. Let's say we have a student who's interested in learning some coping skills, learning how to manage a concern, and wanting to build some of those life skills. One of the things we offer is our drop-in workshops that are skills-based. So these workshops are currently virtual, but some of them are offered in person, and that changes depending on who's offering them and what the students' needs are at the time. But right now, we have an anxiety toolbox workshop that's 3 weeks long, a coping with depression workshop that's 3 weeks as well, and an inner calm workshop. These have been really popular for students because you can sign up using the QR code that you can see on the screen, and then students can fill out a survey requesting to be connected for the workshop without having to, again, come in for services, go through an assessment. If they're not ready to do individual therapy, they don't think they want to try group, if you have no history of going to any sort of mental health services in the past, or if you just want an opportunity to learn some ways to cope with stress or anxiety or depression, this is a really good opportunity to learn some of those skills in a more accessible way. You don't have to go to every single session. There's no penalty if you go to 1 week, skip a week, come back the next week. If you do it multiple times, it doesn't stop you from being eligible for any services at CAPS. And it's been a really great opportunity for us to let families, parents know about the services that are available for students, whether they want to sign up for individual therapy or not. So this is another program that we're services as accessible for students as possible, regardless of where they are in their mental health journeys. And we're really excited about it. Next slide. And the last thing that we wanted to highlight today is that CAPS is offering these free self-help resources. And we've talked about them in part 1, but WellTrack is an opportunity for students to learn some different skills-based tools, to figure out some ways to address mental health challenges such as anxiety and stress, depression, public speaking, and some other things on their own terms. So for students who might be looking to get more information on these topics, but again, maybe don't want to do therapy every week, aren't interested in the structure, don't feel like it would fit with their schedule, this is another really accessible way for students to check in on how their mental health is going, even if it's just to be like, maybe therapy would be a good option after all. But if they're not sure, if they just want to try something, this is a free resource that's available for all of our students here at Purdue. And it's another thing that can be really, really helpful. I find that our more senior students enjoy it a lot. because it gives them the opportunity to engage with these mental health resources on their terms. So for non-traditional students, juniors, seniors, students who are busy, this is a really great opportunity for them to utilize some of the services that CAPS has to offer in a way that may be more accessible for them. And it's something that we definitely encourage students to try, including students who are doing individual therapy, group, or using any of our self-help workshops or drop-in workshops. So this is something that you can use in conjunction with any of those other resources or as a standalone. So this is something that we encourage parents to tell their students to try out, to check out. Once you have your Purdue email address, this is something that is accessible for you. And just as a reminder of all the different things that we've talked about, CAPS is accessible. We have the workshops, we have WellTrack, we have Let's Talk. So if students are interested in connecting with us for any of those resources, we also have lots of different outreach and campus engagement events coming up or going on campus. We have a big one coming up the week before spring break where we're going to be working with our Purdue student government to do a really exciting Mental Health Action Week event. We're really excited to collaborate with different campus partners to find ways to make mental health and CAPS more accessible for students in ways that are fun for them and ways that can reach them maybe that we haven't done before. You can always give CAPS a call if you have questions about setting up an appointment or how to get those first steps initiated for your student, or you can give them that number so that they can give us a call. We also have the 24/7 access and crisis support. So if we do have students who need help after hours, they can always call our phone number and get connected to our crisis intervention team after hours. And those people will be able to support them even if our office is closed. We always accept students to come in to push or give us a call when we're open if they are in crisis, and we always have staff available for walk-ins if students are in need or there's any sort of mental health emergency, regardless of whether it's spring break. If campus is open, CAPS is open, and we're excited to be able to support those students, and we prioritize that over everything. So please, please, please connect with us. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. And Boiler Up, Jen, back to you.
Crystal, thank you so much for going over all of those resources that are available for families. It's a great recap of what we learned in Wellbeing Part 1, and just to talk about some of the new resources that you've provided for that started this semester. So thank you again for all of that. We'll be bringing you back here just shortly with some questions from our families. But next up, I'd like to hand it on over to Will from our recreation and wellness area.
Thanks, Jen. Like was said, my name is Will Evans. I serve as the Senior Assistant Director of Wellness at Purdue Recreation and Wellness, and I'm going to tell you today about a little bit of our services here that we offer at the Purdue RecWell. All right, our first slide here, we're going to cover our wellness programs. We have three main areas here: general wellness, nutrition, and Boiler Financial Track. There are some similarities across all three programmatic areas here that students can take advantage of. The first one is that all three offer presentations. We can come to student organizations, classrooms, res halls, and talk about any topic under the sun about health and well-being. So we have everything from sleep and time management and coping with stress to eating healthy on the run, eating right when your budget's tight, and then how to set up credit, have budgeting, different financial topics as well. Each programmatic area also offers their own version of coaching. So wellness coaching is a chance to meet one-on-one with a fellow student who has gone through a health coaching class in the College of Health and Kinesiology. And then they meet with their peers one-on-one to discuss what health and well-being goals they want to create for themselves, kind of provide that sense of accountability and support as students work to reach their healthy goals. Same thing with nutrition coaching, except we're only focused on nutrition-related topics. So if you're tired of trying to figure out if are eggs good for me one day and then the next day the internet says they're bad for me, don't worry. We can help you solve the mystery at Recwell. You can just come in to ask some general nutrition questions there. And then above that service on this slide, you'll see consultations. Those are for a little bit more in-depth. We also have a registered dietitian here at Recwell. So if you have a student or know of anyone who may has a little bit more of a clinical dietary need, they can also see a registered dietitian for no additional cost at Recreation and Wellness too. And then finally, our financial coaching. We realize that Purdue does a wonderful job preparing all students and all majors to be very well equipped for their role in their future career. But unless you're majoring in, accounting or personal finance, you may not get kind of the financial piece or education that you need to succeed well in life. And so while it may seem kind of odd to come to a gym to get your financial advisor appointments, we offer that here because we care about your holistic well-being. So you can meet with our certified financial counselor, or you can meet with one of her financial coaches, which is, again, just a student who has gone through personal finance courses here at Purdue. And they meet one-on-one with fellow Boilermakers to talk about what is a budget, what does opening a line of credit mean, how can you pay down debt. And even if you're planning on graduating soon, we can help compare job offers. We can talk about buying your first home, lots of different financial topics to be addressed, especially if you've never really, as a student, been on your own and in charge of managing your own funds and finances in that way. And then finally, all three programmatic areas also offered scheduled programming. So we have events that we put on throughout the semester that students can attend. Just to learn more about what health and well-being may look like at college, these events can range from guided meditations in a meditation room to demonstration kitchens in our cooking demo to credit cafes where we enjoy coffee and talk about financial matters and things like that. So students can find all of those scheduled events on our landing page, and that is purdue.edu/recwell, RECWELL, and there's a whole calendar of events there. Going into a little bit more here, programming is topical events that teach well-being throughout the semester. These programs are free, so except for cooking demos, they only come at a cost of $10 per demo, but the rest of the programs are free to attend. That is the same for coaching and presentations and the mindfulness room and the dietitian. The only thing on this slide that's going to cost a Boilermaker a little extra money are those demo kitchen cooking demos. Most everything we do is student-led here. We firmly believe in the power of peers supporting peers and the research that backs it up that says that students are way more likely to listen to students than they are to anyone else. So we're excited to be able to offer that experience for our students here. So you can go to our website, purdue.edu/recwell, click on fitness and wellness to explore any of these options that you see on the screen and how you can get plugged in. Our next slide here, we'll talk about some of the services that Recwell offers. These do come at an additional cost. Massage therapy in particular. We do have 3 licensed massage therapists at Recwell. So if your Boilermaker needs a little bit extra help and relaxation, this is an option here. And then light therapy is a free service. And this is used during mainly the winter months. Some people, especially if you're not from the Midwest, it's very odd to see the sun set at around 5:30 and it doesn't really come up until much later in the morning. So for some people, the lack of light really throws them off. So we do offer free light therapy in our facility as well. If you're not familiar with what that is, a little joke that hopefully Crystal will appreciate is I asked someone what light therapy was one time and they said, yeah, it's just not heavy therapy. I said, no, it's not talk therapy, it's light therapy, which is just sitting in front of a specialized light box that has a very bright light bulb in it. And it's made to simulate natural sunlight. So just an easy way to trick your body into thinking it's receiving more sunlight than it is. And that helps boost some people's affective state throughout the winter months. On our next slide, we'll talk about our fitness programs here. We have 3 main categories in fitness. Group X is our group fitness classes, over 50 classes offered per week in various different fitness formats, anything from yoga to cycling to Tabata. You can explore our Group X fitness schedule online as well. For this year, Group X comes at no additional cost to students, and we are exploring keeping it that way into the future. Our next fitness category is F45. The F here stands for functional, and this is a much more functional training, HIIT, high intensity cardio based class. This does come at a cost of $125 per semester, and it is very much community focused. So these are smaller classes that you usually participate with the same people week after week, day after day, to really form that tight kind of sense of belonging and connection on campus through Recwell. And then finally, we do have personal training options. This can either be done one-on-one or what we call buddy sessions, but this is just a group session. So if you have another friend or a small group of friends that you want to work out with and go throughout the personal training experience, we have that option as well. And prices for there start as the lowest as $49 per month for personal training. Next, we'll explore some of our sport programs. Two main categories here. First is intramural sports with over 35 offerings throughout the year. These are all played here on Purdue's West Lafayette campus, and these are offered year-round. And students can make their own team, join a team. Lots of res halls choose to make their own team, or sororities and fraternities and the like. So students can explore all those options for a fun, quick pickup game of whatever their favorite sport is: flag football, ultimate frisbee, things like that. And then if you want a little bit more competitive edge and some travel, we do have 30 plus offerings of club sports here. And this does come with a little bit more time commitment, but some students really appreciate the value of still being able to travel, compete against other institutions, but then also be able to come back as a little bit more flexible schedule for them as well. So these are two of our sport options you can explore through Recwell, and you can see all of their pricing and schedules on our main site as well. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Jen. Thank you guys so much for having me and letting me explain a little bit of our resources here at Recwell.
Thank you so much, Will, for all of that information. So as Will said, we do have some questions that were submitted by our families. First off, I'm going to bring Crystal to the screen. This one's for her. It says, my student is experiencing general anxiety and stress, not academic related, but due to more to personal growth and understanding their emotions. They've looked at counseling options and felt like they were more specific for like eating disorders and stress. What would you recommend for this student?
So one thing I want to make sure that I share is that all of our clinicians here at CAPS are generalists. So one of the things we prioritize is making sure that anyone who walks in our door with an issue or a concern is able to talk to any of our clinicians to get that support that they're looking for. So trying our brief therapy would be a great option. That would be an opportunity for them to connect with somebody for a semester, potentially try maybe some short-term weekly therapy, some longer-term bi-weekly therapy, and see if that's something that would be beneficial for them. Or if they aren't interested in moving in that direction, they could also look at our groups program or try out some of our resources that are available for drop-in. So we have the Let's Talk program that we talked about already, and then we have the Anxiety Toolbox would be a great opportunity for them to learn some different coping skills. So we could start with some of the less intense options to see if that would meet the need, and if they're looking for something more intensive, then we have those options such as the brief therapy available as well. If they are looking for something that we couldn't offer, and generally we are able to accommodate all of those requests for students who are coming in for anxiety, whether that's anxiety related to school or not, because a lot of our students have anxiety that's just about growth and development, and we want to be there to support them as well. We also have a very robust case management team, care management team that's available to help that student connect if they would prefer to go off campus. But we, as Purdue CAPS, want to make sure that people know that we do have resources available for students who are looking for those specific types of services without having any sort of specialized eating concern or specific diagnosis. we are available for all of our students regardless of what the specific issue is. And if it is something that we don't offer in-house, then we're more than happy to help students using our services get connected in the most comfortable way possible off campus. But we definitely don't want anyone to feel like their issue is too general for us.
Thank you so much for that, Crystal. Next is a question for Will. Given the last few years of our enrollment numbers here at Purdue, everybody wants to be a Boilermaker, all right. This parent has some concerns about the co-rec being overcrowded. Is that something that you have seen, and is there any thoughts to adding new opportunities?
Yeah. Man, what a great question. I do want to start by just saying we are a little over a 450,000 square foot facility, which is just massive when you think about it. We have 13 basketball courts, 2 different swimming pools, 5 different layers or levels in our building. We're a massive facility. But to your point, we are getting bigger as a campus. So we are starting to see a little bit of tension in our facilities with usage. If a student's ever concerned about that, we do try to update our facility usage by level and by fitness, what we call fitness neighborhoods. So we update that facility usage map every hour, kind of similar to how you can pull up on Google Maps and see when a restaurant is busy during different hours of the day. We try to offer the same thing to students so they can work their schedule around when it may be busy for them or not. And we are exploring different ways to use current resources, and then in the future, relatively recent or soon-ish future, exploring how we may be able to grow and expand and offer more services to students. So we are aware of and want to stay ahead of the population increase. So we are beginning to explore some options and have some creative ideas in the works. I just don't want to give anyone any kind of false hope. So that's all I'm going to leave it there. I just want you to know that we are working on it. And so things are coming.
Thank you for that, Will. Crystal, this next question is for you. And it says, can a student take a test to measure their mental well-being at no cost? And what would that look like?
So we currently at CAPS do not do assessment as like a focus, but we do assess our our clients as they're coming in, excuse me. So if you're coming in to see a clinician here, every time you come in for therapy, we are going to give you the CCAPS, which is a survey that we use to assess how you're doing that day or within the last 2 weeks to see how that student's doing, what their needs are, if there are any immediate concerns, any imminent risk, that sort of thing. So we do assess that on a regular basis anytime a student's coming in our doors, because we, again, want to prioritize our students' wellness over everything else. But we don't offer assessments at this time. So we don't have the ability for a student to come in to Purdue CAPS and do a diagnostic assessment, a personality assessment, a mental health assessment that they can kind of take with them. But we do have case managers on staff who can help a student who needs that assessment for some reason to get connected to services off campus to do that. Now, we don't have control over how much those things cost off campus to get. And then there also are some resources on campus as well that we can encourage students to utilize if they're interested in an assessment that would be free or at a more affordable cost for them. And we can connect students with those resources. They do fill up quickly. But we ourselves don't at this time offer mental health assessments for students, unfortunately.
All right, thank you so much for that. This last question, I'm going to start off asking Will. And Crystal, if you have anything else to add to what Will has to say, please do so at that time, okay? So the question is, it's more of a statement. I've heard that there are many freshmen going off to college this year in general, not just here at Purdue, but just in general, they said, that are having a real problem with really getting involved, getting on campus, that they want to come home more frequently, take mental health breaks, have homesickness. Do you have any suggestions for a student who is out of state, less likely to travel more, to be able to travel, I guess, more, that seems to be in their room and unsocial more than the family may like?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's tricky because sometimes different circumstances come into play. So I would say if the student themselves is unhappy with their level of social interaction, they can definitely explore some options. Some of those being maybe they do want to play an intramural sport. It could be joining a student organization. It could just be, especially for freshmen, while there are many things to do on campus, it's almost as if Purdue is a mini city. So it just takes a while to get to navigate your way around to even know where to begin to get plugged in. So if they need help with that, they can certainly come. We do have some of those like social connection, social wellness talks and wellness coaching. We just explore what a client may be most comfortable with joining first, whether that's intramural, a res hall association, a student organization, things like that. I would also say though, it can be difficult at any stage of life, really, to like make new friends, especially if it's a new area. So like offering a little bit of grace, compassion, and just saying, all right, we're going to go at your pace as long as we're making good effort and that you're not uncomfortable or feeling disconnected from campus. I think is the big thing. But there are many different ways that a student could go about it, and I think whether you're into sports, whether you're into clubs, whether you're into building robots on campus, there's something for Purdue at Purdue for almost anyone, right? And so it's just finding that, beginning with the Student Activities and Organizations Office, SAO, may be a good starting point for students looking to join a club. Getting out there and just either just coming to the co-rec, going to a dining court, not being afraid just to ask someone if you can sit with them is the biggest thing. But I think really just checking in with your Boilermaker and making sure that it's something that they want to work on to begin with, or if they do feel fine, perhaps being in the room, hanging out with their roommate, just having a few close, tight knit friends is always good too. So it's really just individualized to the person. But if you need help getting started, we're happy to kind of be that compass to help you navigate campus a little bit.
I would say, just to add to everything that's already been said, I agree with everything that Will said. I think that sometimes for certain people, we have expectations about what our Boilermaker is going to do, what socializing is going to look like for them. So just be open that at a school as big as Purdue, that for some people, keeping a small group of friends is going to make them feel more comfortable than being more connected to lots and lots of people. Sometimes for some people, that's just not what they want their college experience to look like, and that's okay. But I would say at the same time, for students who aren't feeling satisfied, who aren't feeling as comfortable with the level of socializing that they're doing, one of the things I often remind families, students, parents is that socializing is a skill like any other skill. So just like when you're trying to get stronger, you have to practice. You have to lift weights if you want to get more strong and more comfortable doing something. So with socializing, it's the same thing. You want to practice and you want to give yourself some grace that maybe you're not going to immediately be ready to run for president of a sorority, but you might be able to go sit with somebody that you met who's in a sorority and say hi and see how it's going and see if that's a good fit for you. So trying to start small, trying to start somewhere, and also giving yourself grace that you may not do it perfectly. That doesn't mean that you messed up, but that we have to start somewhere in order to get to a place where maybe we feel more comfortable and at ease with ourselves and connecting with people that maybe we never have before. So CAPS is also a resource that gives students that support in taking some of those risks and getting a little bit stronger at socializing, because that is a coping skill that we teach in a lot of our workshops that we have available. And one of the things that comes up a lot for our students who maybe aren't doing so well at Purdue is that they need a little bit of support in figuring out what socializing is going to look like for them. And that's definitely a conversation that all of our clinicians are comfortable having, and something that we would be happy to help your Boilermaker navigate.
Thank you both so much for all of the wonderful information about resources and all of your insight for these questions today. I appreciate you guys joining us and giving this information out to our Boilermaker families. Families, thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you are able to take away some nuggets of information from this virtual event to help your Boilermakers. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great day.